Hello, once again, for the Plays the Thing. I'm Judy Sleed, and I have a wonderful guest, Beau Hulse.
Thank you, Judy.
I think he's a very interesting person, so I decided I have to have him on my show.
And here I am.
He is the guy who reinvented himself like 5 times.
Actually 6, but I'll take
6?
It's just,
You're not even that old.
well, I may even do 7 the way things are going. I'm going to go right 7, 8, 9, who knows? But
Yes.
it's always good. Nothing's boring on this side of the ground, let's put it that way.
And are you originally from the Hamptons?
Actually, no. I am originally from a very small town by the name of Greenport, Long Island, New York.
That's not too far from here.
No, that's right over there north of us,
Yeah,
so to speak. Yeah.
Greenport,
Great little
yeah.
town. Father was a shipbuilder. That's where I grew up until I was around 25 years of age, and then I scurried off to the music business.
Oh, so you
Judy.
were first a sailor?
Well, we had a chart. Well, that's what my first wife says. Anyway, yes, I was a young man in that town. I was married. We actually got married there and had our first child. And then the music business was a calling. And when I reached the age of 24 and a half, I decided to go on the road with the band. So I was
How do you like that?
in the music business for many years.
And what did you do in the
I
band?
originally started off as a percussionist and was with another young lady, and then that arrangement didn't work out, let's put it that way, and I went off to be a lead singer frontman from that point.
Singer?
Yes, I'm a singer by trade, and I studied out of the Ansonia Hotel in New York with a Catherine Agresta, and she's also responsible for Cyndi Lauper, who is a friend, as well as Bon Jovi and unfortunately the late Phoebe Snow, and many others, but she's an incredible vocal teacher. So she taught me how to sing correctly, and so that I could do, continuously, 26, 28, 30 nights in a row, and not lose my voice. And of course, then also make sure I stayed away from the bar before before that took
So
my
how
body
many
over.
years did you do that?
Since from 1968 to 1984. I was on the road.
And
So I started off as drummer, reinvented myself as a frontman lead singer.
Is that
Boat, that's, my father was a drummer also, so I had history of that. But my father also had a charter boat business out of Greenport. So my influence for music came from him. And then as far as the entertaining end of it, that also came from my father. He was a great entertainer. He was a very charismatic guy and played great drums,
Did you perform together ever?
We did. Actually, I sat in with his bands. He had like large groups, the big band era. So he would take me with him and I would play the drums. He would let me sit in with the band, and that took me into the earlier story, eventually getting married in Greenport, having a child, and then going off onto the road to seek stardom and albums and fun and frolic.
Is that band still around?
Those bands somewhat disbanded until the band that's active now for 30 years is a group called L.A. Woman, which is a tribute to Jim Morrison and the Doors. So we've been together 30 years. And that particular band functioned on the road. It's a tribute band that became very popular in the mid-'70s. And we basically have stayed together over the last 30 years from doing different benefits. We just recently did a benefit in Southampton at 230 Elm for the Sandy survivors, and we raised some money for them with that same Same band.
And
yeah.
what did you sang?
I do the Doors. I sing
Oh
the
my
Doors.
God, I
I'm,
must-
I'm Bo Morrison, so to speak. But,
Too bad you. Can you sing?
well, actually, I wasn't prepared to. Of course, I have it right here, Bonnie. No, and also, I do a. I won't do the Doors, but I will do a little. I don't know if you ever Frank Sinatra.
Oh,
It's
I remember Frank.
Frank, yeah, well, you would. You're a lot younger than he. What? Interesting enough, there was a correlation between Sinatra and Jim Morrison. Crazy enough, actually, Frank thought he was the crooner of his era because of his
Yeah.
somewhat baritone voice. But this, let me see. Can you hear that?
Yeah, I can.
So this is one of my favorite songs, and I'll do a little bit. Fly me to the moon, let me play among the stars. Let me see what spring is like on Jupiter and Mars. In other words, hold my hand. In other words, Judy, ouch, kiss me. That's it, Bonnie.
Well, that's
That's
great.
it, Judy. Thank you. The camera's on me now.
Yeah. That's
So that's evolved into
wonderful,
the
yeah.
Morrison involved with Frank Sinatra, and I
Yeah,
sing.
that's a type of music I like.
Yeah, I love this. I'm doing a benefit for the homeless, and actually Peconic. Be singing for them on the 23rd, I believe it is, and then I do different functions for the Rotary with the. It's called Beau Natra, and it's
Oh,
a tribute.
Beau Natra.
Beau Natra. It's a
Wow,
little,
yeah.
somewhat clever on my part, and then I have fun with that, and it's basically I bring this. This is my band in a box, so I don't have a band, and it's a lot cheaper that way. But
Yeah,
I obviously do it for nothing, so I have a lot of fun with that. But that's the
It is
music
great.
business.
Now I know who to call
Well,
for a
call me.
benefit.
I'm right
Yes.
there. I'll sing until I fall right over.
So you from being a sailor, you went to become
Fortunately, not a
singer.
drunken sailor.
And now you're in real estate, but you must have done something in between.
Yes, I did, and very nice water. Yes, what happened? The music business. Then I retired in 1984 from the road end of it. I was doing different shows. We did the Ed Sullivan. I had a couple of records out. One on Decca Records, which went nowhere. 3 people bought it. My mother, she was alive, God rest her soul. It was a big band. It was more in my mind. And then, I transitioned. My wife and I, Pat Hulse, I have to say, she's also the co-founder of Beau Hulse Realty Group, the real estate company. We won't get into that yet. However, she was the managing director of the band when I was on the road. That's my wife. So she
talent.
handled all the different club owners, getting the money, rooms, different airfare, busing, and all that stuff, and the road crews.
Things.
So she's been crew, but she's also transitioned herself as I have. She's an astrologist, licensed. She's also Reiki master, and she also runs essentially the back end of the company for Beau Hulse Realty Group. But I'm one of the most fortunate people on earth to have found my soulmate, who was brought into this world some beautiful children. Elizabeth,
that's the most
wonderful, and my daughter from my first marriage from Flo, who is no longer with us, but was an incredible mother. That's Tina, and then the new one who is in her, she's 26, is Rachel. And when we got off the road with the band, we decided to have another child, and Rachel came to us.
So how many children?
3.
You have 3 children.
Yes.
And they all out here in the Hamptons?
One is my daughter from my first marriage is in Nova Scotia. It's beautiful there. She's happy, apparently. And then we have Elizabeth, who is in East Quogue, and then we have Rachel, who is in Southampton with us. So, but it's a close family, and with Pat and I, it's about family. Everything's about family.
That's wonderful.
The band was about family, and what was interesting, and I have to share this point with you, when you're on the road with the band, and then I'll go into the reinvention end, but it's interesting. You live almost like in a bubble because you're surrounded by your people, so to speak, the musicians, the audience, the club owners, and you really, for all those years, you're floating around in this wonderful environment, of just such positive energy. You're looked upon, even when you're in a club scene and whatever. You have these wonderful people who support you and come to you to hear your band and reward you with applause and la la la. And then in 1984, when I got off the road with the band, I came into the world of the 9 to 5, which I have to be very honest, was quite a shock because what's going on in the 9 to 5 world, in some cases, it's just so competitive, and I mean, it's weird in some.
It's different.
It is very different from being in an artistical environment with all the love and the music and everything's so positive. To come into this other world, the corporate world, and seeing how people treat other people in order to work their way up this, hypothetical ladder to the top and then crumble down. And what they'll do in order to get to that higher part in the corporation or whatever, what they will do in order to do that. It took me a long time to adjust. I never will accept that. I mean, I think that, it's more about us doing the right things for each other, and as the universe gives us an opportunity to advance, you do it on merit and on good service and treating people kindly.
Yes.
And I think
it's not everybody's like that.
But I think that's the artistical side of it, and that's why I would never compromise my values for anything. Money is of no importance to me in that respect, although it has value, believe me, but in order to get it, I would never compromise who I am.
Great. I just keep looking at you, and you have beautiful blue eyes.
Thank you for asking. I wore this shirt just so they would. Are they popping? Where's the camera? Boing. Thank you for noticing.
You should be looking at me.
Yes, okay, that's what I'm sorry. I was looking and I thought there was 3 cameras, but no. That is you. I am looking. And may I also compliment you on your jewelry? My eyes and your jewelry. There's no comparison, but they're beautiful. That's beautiful.
Oh, thank you. They are. I have it for many years, and it was a gift. I believe this came from Cindy Adams.
Really?
Yes.
They really look great on you. And were you in the music business at all, or?
Well, I teach piano.
That's nice.
And I'm not in music business. But I am very musical.
Yes, you are. And artistic,
I don't
if I
mean
may.
musical chairs.
No, that's for after the show, Bonnie. Yeah, you and me.
I had written a musical play.
I see.
And
great
other things. And I was going to ask you about. You said something about health. You're a health nut.
Well, yeah, yes, and it happened, and I'll share this with you. And this is another conviction that I have, and the processed foods. I mean, about 4 years ago, I started doing some research and seeing what was actually in food that they give us in King Cullen and other supermarkets per se, and what we're allowed to eat, and to find out what keeps this stuff that they stuff in these little frozen packets alive and from not going bad per se. I mean, it's just scary. So I started researching the value of food and realizing how important it is for all of us to know where your food comes from. And I think that's because our lives are so hectic and we're on such a a high pace that it's hard for us to sit around the kitchen table and eat together as a family, but also the quality of food that's at the table is very important. And I'm very much into the organic foods that's really organic and not just saying it, and making some very, very good choices. And I was struggling about 3 years ago with a weight problem. It happened that every year, once I got off the road with the band, I was gaining a half a pound to 3/4 of a pound a year. So, or sometimes 2 pounds. So when you're looking at that and you're off the road for roughly 28 years, you multiply that times 2, you turn into a small seal, and what was happening was that I found out that I had some allergies to gluten, and there's no doctor, a GP, that's going to tell you this because they don't have the wherewithal to do the blood work to find out if you have any allergies to certain, or sensitivities too. I shouldn't use the word allergies that freely. Sensitivities to food like gluten, which is wheat and sugar and dairy. And I found out that what was happening to me is that the foods that I was eating, the breads, the cheeses, and the different beefs, of course they're not grass-fed, and the fish, a combination of all those things, eating the wrong foods, I wasn't breaking them down. So I basically kept the same exercise program, and I was just filling my body with all of this processed foods, cheeses, milks, dairy, ice cream, Haagen-Dazs, blah, blah, big steaks. And I was rolling around like a small seal. And then it affected me, and it was affecting my blood pressure, my health, my triglycerides, you name it. And then I met a doctor, Nenninger in Port Jeff. We did a blood test, and we found out that my body was sensitive to these different foods. Essentially what I did is I took those foods and replaced them with good food. No wheats, nothing white except for cauliflower, nothing. Any wheat. So even rice, I have brown rice, and then gluten-free this. And you have to be careful also because the gluten-free, and sometimes in order to make it taste good, you got to watch the sugar. And sugar's the big enemy. Sugar feeds everything. Cancer, you name it, it thrives off it. And what I'm doing is that I'm building my body to be a machine to fight off different things, because we all have these different little
So how long have you been on these?
About 3.5, 4 years. And I lost about over 56 pounds.
Wow.
Yeah. And I've been this weight that you see me now, 158.
So you don't eat out then?
Oh, I do. I have an 80-20 rule, 20% out and the 80% in. And here's what the other wonderful thing about choosing the right foods and actually cooking at home is that it becomes a family experience. My wife, my daughter, myself, my kids, now we're doing a lot more together because it's slow cooking. The vegetables are all organic. We have more of a social thing rather than eating out, and we're talking across the table, blah, blah, blah. And if we're going to have a nice glass of wine, it's all organic, less sulfate.
Even the wine has to be organic?
It doesn't have to be, but I choose. It's about making choices. So it's not a matter of preaching this, it's a matter of sharing what I see. And it's going in that direction. When I first started shopping 4 years ago, Judy, in Wild by Nature in Hampton Bays, I was alone. There was 4 of us in the aisles. Now, the aisles, there's 20 and 30 and 35 of us. Now I have to wait. And because people are getting it, they're starting to realize that, to make good choices, it's just the right direction to go into.
You mentioned before that Brazil nuts are good.
Oh yeah, very, very good for you.
Because that's a big fat nut, and I didn't know it was different from all the other nuts.
They all have the nuts about nuts. Judy.
Yes.
The Brazil nuts, there's so many good things, and don't ask me to name them. However, from memory, walnuts, probably the least favorite is peanuts, because some people
Yeah.
have, allergies to that. But the other thing that we're doing is that we're juicing at the house with the NutriBullet. This thing goes 2,000 cycles a minute, with kale and spinach, and we have this once a day with the walnuts, with
Well,
the
you put
nuts.
that in the juicer?
Yeah, it's
then
actually
you-
beyond a juicer. It grinds everything up so you don't even have to chew it, and it goes right into your system. And it's probably one of the most magnificent machines that I've ever owned. And
And would that be a meal?
that's a meal.
Oh,
But it's
so-
so nutritious, so good for
Oh,
you.
it sounds
Oh
that
my
way.
God, the
Yeah.
spinach and the kale and the bok choy and and this and the flax seeds and
Yeah.
it's just exciting.
I must get one of those.
And
Because
yeah,
it's
you'll
so
enjoy
easy.
it.
Yes.
But
Yeah.
it's what it is. It's not a diet. It's a lifestyle. You have to change. You have to make certain commitments to yourself.
So you gave this a good name for everybody, but what do you, obviously you are happy with your present occupation that keeps you busy, the real estate.
I love it.
Are you thinking of doing something else after this?
Let me think. Please. The music is part of the real estate. The real estate business, Judy, why I love it so much is that I never know what the day is going to be. And I meet so many wonderful people at their homes, helping them organize their most wonderful asset, owning a home. My company, Beau Hulse Realty Group, is totally into servicing. We are a service business, and there's such a niche for our company, and we've done so well through this horrific recession that we went through. I mean,
Oh, yes,
and
yes.
it's rebounding slowly. The stock market's north. We got a new pope today, by the way.
Oh, really?
Oh yeah, everything's happening. The stock market's over 14, new pope. I mean, we're on our way now, and eating the right foods. But our company, we really pride ourselves, and we've done so well through this horrific real estate recession. But once the real estate gets the momentum that it has, there's a trickle-down effect that's so beneficial to the economy, because it really, and I support the 99 percenters. My business is in that direction, and once the real estate community gets going, Judy, we have the painters are busy, the plumbers are busy, the roofers are busy, the sheetrockers are busy, the landscapers are busy. So it's a trickle-down economy. When people buy houses, they need refrigerators, they need the walls spackled. So it puts everyone back to work.
Yeah, that's wonderful. That is.
And I'm so happy to be a part of that. But I enjoy it, and there are other things on the horizon, for me, anyway.
Really?
Yeah.
Are you going to write a book?
It's going to be a million miles to nowhere. Actually, I'm not working on a book. I am.
You're
Actually, my
working
wife
on-
is writing it, and the band is still very LA Woman. We're doing some shows coming up at it'll be in Riverhead at the new theater.
Oh, yes, the new
Oh
theater,
my God,
the
that is
Riverhead,
magnificent
yes.
what they did that. Magnificent, magnificent. So we hope to be there and continue doing all good work that I can do.
And is your whole family involved? Like you said, your daughter lives with you.
Yes.
Is she involved in things that you do? Or
Yes,
she's going on her
she's very musically inclined. She's also licensed in real estate. She has a passion for nature. My other daughter works at the Jitney. She's in the human resource end. But, that part of it, we're a very close family.
own? How about, did you ever do any acting?
Yes, I'm doing it right now. I'm sorry.
Right here, of course you are. I mean, that's what I always say.
I have done some acting. I've done acting, theater,
stage?
stand-up comedy. And
stand-up comedy.
I'm horrible at the stand-up. I don't know what it is.
But you're doing it
Yes, I do it.
because you love it.
No, I do. I like it. I like it.
There was a club in New York City that did stand-up comedy. I went there once. myself.
Yeah, it's all the material. That's why the music end of it I like. The stand-up, I do a lot of emceeing and things of
Yeah.
that caliber. I did have my own TV show also, and I'll share that with you, which was another reinvention. I thought I'd be the new Johnny Carson. Actually, if I stuck with it, I could have probably taken Letterman's job at some point. And it was called Beau Knows Talent, and it had a question mark. And the reason I had a question mark was that I never knew who was going to be on the show. It was all ad lib.
Oh, that's great.
So if someone came to the show, a comedian or a musician, it was all done off the cuff, all ad lib. The question mark was that some of the acts were horrible. So I didn't, you know, Beau Knows Talent is great. I couldn't do it, but we were ahead of it.
You would be the judge.
Just go back years ago before America's Got Talent, light years ahead. That was about over 20 years ago.
And where was that in?
That was at the Cablevision Television in Riverhead.
Riverhead, yeah.
Had a lot of fun.
I take this show over there.
I have a lot of fun with it. I did have it.
Well, Beau, you're a real great guest.
Well, I think you're a great host.
I had so much fun listening to you.
Thank you.
And I want to tell everybody that Lupita did my hair.
Yes, and it's beautiful.
And I want to thank all my underwriters. And if I forget your name, don't get mad at me. It's coming up on the screen. Bill Miller is one of them. And my daughter Jody, my friend Irv Ackerman.
Very nice.
And Taylor Cohen.
Very nice.
And hey, I remembered this much. That's wonderful. I usually forget.
You did wonderful.
And you could watch me on YouTube if you go on, if you have a computer, you could watch me on YouTube.
That's
I have
wonderful.
over 100 of my shows uploaded. So goodbye, everybody. And you're a wonderful guest, and you're a wonderful person. You do all these different things, and you said you like doing them.
I do.
You
I
like
love
to
it.
keep people employed, which is wonderful. And all
I've been
these
gifted.
good food, and you sing and you dance. Oh, you didn't say you were dancing.
Well, I do dance too. I mean, the next show. But thank you so much for having me. You're a delight.
I used to have a big house when I was married, and I used to give parties at least once a year. And for entertainment, one time I gave everybody a drink, and I put peanuts on the floor. I said, everybody step on peanuts. Stepping on peanuts. I was